Hi, my name is Somnath De. I'm coming back with multiple guests from different backgrounds. So today we have our honored guest, and we are also honored because of him. Uh, his name is Dr. Sandipan Sarkar. I must say he is multifaceted. At one side, he is a partner of a large technology firm. He is running a part of a famous restaurant chain. Along with that, Shandipanda is doing a lot of work on education side of young minds. So here is Shandipanda.
Shomnath, thank you so very much. Good evening to you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. A disclaimer, I'm not an expert on food safety or food security for that matter. But as a member of this society, as a citizen, and of course as a human being, right? So this is something that definitely concerns me every day. Now, if I look at it, right, so for me, I mean, I was in fact thinking about this topic, right? Since I'm no expert, I'm a novice, so I was thinking about this topic. And possibly it is far deeper than just food safety, in my humble opinion. And I will explain in a moment, right? But if you look at it, right, so there are at least two different aspects which are kind of intertwined, right, and kind of somewhat adversely impact each other. One is food security and another is food safety, right? In a way, if you look at food safety, at least my reading, it originated from the sense of food security. And let me explain why, right? So initially, if we look back our prehistoric days, right, in that case, we are all hunters and gatherers. So there was no question of contamination. There is no question of, well, contamination can happen, right? Because a meat could be, I mean, hunted meat could get rotten and etc. But there was no question of adulteration, right? At least, somebody for commercial reason or for malintention, nobody would put something like a chemical into that, right? Because there was no concept of preservation at that point of time. But then what happened? I mean, then about 10,000 years back, we kind of shifted our focus towards, how we can become far more comfortable. That was a quest that is still going on, right? And at that shift, we all of a sudden, from a hunters and gatherers society, we became an agrarian society, right? So we started agriculture. The moment we started agriculture, we tried to multiply ourselves, right? Because we have enough food, right? So that we can have more number of members in our family and in our society. As a result, the population grew. And if the population grows, in that case, you will have to grow more food, right? In that case, you will be becoming increasingly, dependent on agriculture. And then, of course, the population explosion happened. Right now, I believe 7 billion people are inhabiting this particular planet. I mean, if 7 billion people are there, you got to feed them somehow, right? Which means that you will have to do it in scale. The moment you want to try to do it in scale, right? So traditional method or natural way of growing crops or vegetables, right? So that will not work. So which means that you will have to depend on some amount of, dependency on the chemical fertilizers, right? Insecticides and whatnot, right? You will also try to see that how you can get more natural resources, for example, water, right? To ensure that your crops are growing well. The moment you drive water out of the earth, in that case the arsenic contamination will also start, and so on. And there will be other impacts also. So I'll not go into that. I'm not an expert either. But in a way, right? So then comes, of course, the market. The concept of market also came in, right? So which means that you will sell your products, your crops, right, your harvests. People will buy it, and etc. etc. With that middleman, right, and transportation, distribution network, everything came. The moment it happens, right? I mean, the moment it happens, there will be multiple interventions, right? Because people will have to store it somewhere, right? The moment they want to store it somewhere, because they want to transport it to a far, away somewhere, right? So they will have to apply some amount of preservation techniques. The moment you do that, right, you will again additionally add few more chemicals, or you will advertently or inadvertently, doesn't matter, right? You will add few more, additional factors, additional piece, chemicals into this whole process. And as you continue doing that, right, so it will become even more, difficult. There is a vice of market-driven economy also. We must not forget it, because people want to increase the price. The moment people want to increase the price, they want to see that whether by spending minimum, they can earn maximum, right? And then all the malpractices also came into play. People started to, adulterate food, right, in a way, right? For example, I mean, in grains, right, people will put something else, maybe a small rocks or, pebbles or something like that, right? Or they will, in case of say mustard seed, I mean, they will put something else, right, which will adulterate it further. So that will keep on going on. So which means that in a way, it all started from the fact from the food security, right? Because we wanted to have enough food. Hunting and gathering is a very time consuming and very, taxing exercise, right? You cannot sustain doing that. So from the sense of food safety, food security, the challenge of food safety came into play, right? So these two things come into play. Even amongst the hill tribes, who are supposed to be some of the fittest people, right? The proliferation of diabetes mellitus, which is type 2 diabetes, right, is growing, right? And it's really, really, alarming at this moment. Nobody thought that hill tribes will be impacted by diabetes, right? Because they are very hardworking people, they eat well and etc. The reason is their lifestyle is also changing. Their food habits are also changing. The moment it is happening, they are picking up all these, diseases which were supposed to be urban diseases. They are picking up all those things. That is on one extreme. Because of my other hat in corporate world, right? So I am surrounded by people, right? So who almost without any exception, most of us, right, have some amount of lifestyle diseases, right? And we take some of the medicines which are going to be, we will have to take this lifelong, right? It is of course lifestyle. So I'm just looking at two different extremes. At one side, it is the urban population with whom I am working, the corporate folks. On the other side, even on the hill tribes, right, on the remote places, people are getting impacted by, adulterated food, contaminated food, and lifestyle. So there cannot be any more, important topic than what you are picking up, Shomnath, today, right? Mm-hmm. I think that this is extremely important. And I'm so happy that you are picking up. Not all of us are picking up. So thank you.
No, thanks for this explanation. I believe the people will have the time, because whatever has happened after all this technological advancement, we tried all these technologies to save our time, but what we have lost is actually time. So hopefully, what you have said is really interesting and people will listen to it carefully. Having said that, my next question is, knowing, the adulteration is there in the market, how you are safeguarding yourself from this adulteration, and how you are safeguarding your families, friends from this adulteration.
Okay. And again, I'll have to answer this because as you introduced me, I have quite a few different hats that I wear. And so I'm living multiple lives in a way, right? Each life or each hat has a different answer, right? So, and I'll have to take them one by one. So let me start with my own personal, right? So, which means my family and myself. We are not super conscious, to be honest, right? Of course, things like, monosodium glutamate, MSG, right? That is something that people are kind of aware, and I am also aware. I try to avoid in Chinese food. I try to check that whether MSG is there or not. I know that it is carcinogenic, so I do not like that. Even if it gives some added flavor, I mean, I don't like it. So I ensure that is not there. I also try to buy local food as much as I can, right? So fortunately, I grew up in a small town, very small town, which is surrounded by agricultural fields and locally grown vegetables and grains. Does it mean that everything is unadulterated? Possibly not, right? But since it is kind of very, it is picked up or harvested in the morning and I pick it up where another in few hours time, so possibly it is slightly less adulterated or contaminated in that way because there is no preservation in between. But I cannot help about fertilizer and insecticides, right? So that is something that is given, and we try to wash as much as we can, right? Given our constrained life, because we are also corporate animals. So I also try to see that when I pick up something, right? So when I buy something from the market, I try to see that at least there is some FSSAI certificate. Again, does it mean that covers everything? It doesn't, right? So, but some amount of safety net comes into play. So I try to do that as much as I can. But again, I'm not super conscious about it, I'll be honest with you. Then my next, hat, which is we are running this, chain of restaurants for last 14 years, so quite long for that matter. I have a bigger responsibility there because it is not just about me, right? I'll have to feed my patrons and customers, right? I'll have to make it tasty. I'll have to win their delight. At the same point of time, I need to ensure they are healthy, right? Because I cannot serve something which will, impact their health. So what do we try to do, right? We try to ensure, first of all, we buy all the FSSAI certified, materials, ingredients and stuff like that. There are a few more things which are FSSAI certificate, but we try to avoid it. For example, any artificial color. We do not allow that in our restaurant. We do not allow that. In fact, sometimes it adversely impacts us. For example, our tikka kebab, right? Even if it is extremely tasty, very tasty, but people do not find it to be, look-wise, they do not find it to be delicious. And we then try to explain that usually the red tikka kebab that you see, that is actually a product of added color and flavor. Since we do not allow that, so thereby it looks a little bit pale, but it is healthier, right? So we explain it, and once they taste it, fortunately they like it. So we keep on doing that. So there is a bigger responsibility as far as I am a restaurateur, right? Then there is a third angle of it, right? So I am also a trustee board member for there is something called Chopin, which is an NGO that we run. It is for the upliftment and education. Who is providing holistic education to underprivileged people, especially at the marginal societies. So that's where we. Shumnath, the moment we shift our discussion to this kind of society, all right, the discussion completely shifts from food safety to food security, because for them, getting a proper food, forget about whether this is contaminated or adulterated or not, getting a proper meal is a big challenge, right? So thereby the discussion, I'm not saying that these are contradictory to each other, right? So we still need to give something which is safe, right? But whenever, we do not usually feed them, but at times we feed them, right? Because there are times when it is important. Also there are cases, situations like when any natural calamity happens, we try to distribute food, right? But since we work at that level, right, so we have seen that getting a proper meal just to fill up their stomach, right, and that itself is a challenge, right? They can care less whether this comes with fertilizer or any preservative or etc. etc. So still, we are living in a society, right, where there is a significant, actually maximum number of people who are bothered about getting a proper meal. They do not understand what is organic, what is inorganic, what is safe and what is unsafe, right? They just need to fill up their stomach, right? So thereby, when I go on as a Chopin trustee member, when I go over there, first thing is that we try to give them, when we do, right, we try to give them a proper meal. Number two is that we try to ensure that at least even if it is not something fancy, we do not, at least, create any additional health problem for them, right? Again, try to buy it locally, local vegetables. Since it is all rural-based area, so we try to encourage local farmers to give their vegetables to us, and we try to feed them. So these are the three ways that we are trying to look at. But the point that I'm trying to make, that food safety and food security, right? Possibly both of these are important topics, right? So one cannot be discussed without the context of another. Now coming to the bigger problem, I mean, where there is a deeper problem because of the supply chain, because of the market-driven economy, people are bound to make, malicious actions, right, to ensure their profitability and whatnot, right? This is an awareness that we can build up, right? But problem is, what is the solution? What is the solution? Can they afford to grow their own mustard seeds and then take it to the local mills to get it cold pressed? We used to do that, right? When even I was a kid, we used to buy mustard seeds or used to get it from our relatives' fields and etc. And there was actually in the locality where I grew up, there was actually a cold pressed mill, right? Where you used to go give these, and used to get the oil out of it. Those days are gone. Those days are gone.
No, so here we are not talking about any solution. We are just making the people aware that what they are taking is not pure. They are adulterated foods they are taking. Let them understand that at least they will take less. After having all this, deadly cancer picture on the packet, whoever feels I'm ready to have this poison, they are having it. Then my point of view is on the, wherever we are adding the stabilizers or anything, or instead of, if we are mixing oils with something else, if we are adding something, let's, if those are carcinogenic, let's put that in the, that, because that rule is there as per the facile rules. All the ingredients has to be very clearly to be specified, and suppressing that itself, like, Ashottama Hato Iti Gojo, is also, allowed Yudhishthir to commit a sin. So it's a sin. Let us accept that. But how we will ensure that whatever the food we are getting, at least that is pure. So if I want to buy pure, how I will ensure that this is pure?
No, first of all, in principle, I agree, right? So first of all, whatever awareness we can build, we need to do that, right? For sure. I mean, there is no disagreement. We will not get any disagreement from it, right? First of all, let me ensure.
No, we cannot solve the problem of the world.
Now, let us try to understand, right? So let us try to solve the problem of our own country, okay? So let us go by that, okay? Now, there are two different kind of, adulteration that can happen. Now, one is, legally, which means that our government is allowing up to 20% in mustard oil. You can up to put palm oil up to 20% or whatsoever, right? So you can bring in a FSSAI registration or whatever, say, or regulation saying that, okay, you need to declare.
Ideally, yes.
In your branded mustard oil, 20% is mixed with palm oil. Yeah, okay. Maybe it is written somewhere in fine prints. I do not read it. No, but we can make sure that it is okay. If they agree, let us do it. And let us do that for sure. There is a second element of. Still, there are dishonest businessman, trader, producer, manufacturer, who instead of 20%, they will possibly put 25%, right? So even if they put it, they will say, okay, this is by government regulation and etc., permissible limit, etc. So that will go by that. But beyond that, they are still, entering something or mixing something which should not be permissible. They will never declare it. That will go unannounced. Okay. So whatever, proposal that you are putting in, that will possibly talk about whatever government permits, right?
No,
Number one.
I'm not putting any proposal, by the way. It's the government's duty, of course.
Correct. Good proposal, right? So let us go through it, right? And then let us think about the roadside stall, right? Do you believe that any roadside owner, right, will put a large disclaimer saying that, okay, if you want, we'll put MSG, but it is bad for health. It can cause cancer.
But we have ensured that for the tobaccos, they have to put it on the stalls. We ensure that if government wants.
First of all, let me agree to you, right, first of all, that this kind of awareness should build up. I just do not know what is the right way of doing it. Maybe we all need to think.
We don't know, because my next question was automatically coming, what should be the direction to this community? We don't know that. Because we are just doing this community building exercise by, informing people. That's all we are doing right now. We don't know whether we will get pure food. We can go to the market and whatever it is, because everything, you see every packet, everything is pure. The purity word has become so unpure now that everything is pure.
Unfortunately.
Correct.
No, I think this is a very important first step, right? So building the awareness, because even amongst, I would say that educated, socially aware people like us, right? We are not aware of all these challenges, right? So all the different intricacies. For example, the palm oil, mustard oil thing, I was not even aware before I read your post.
No, the reason is I was also not kind of aware previously, because the hit didn't come to me. I was very happy with my life.
Right.
I was having all the foods outside. I'm happy. I'm having a good sleep and all everything. Because it hit me, I immediately thought, okay, I could have stopped there itself, because I'm happy because my operation is successful. I'm happy now. Because I thought like I should inform people so that they do not get into this kind of trouble.
Which is right. So I think that's the very important first step, right? So what you had to go through, right? People shouldn't go through that, okay? And all of us have a role to play for sure. I mean, I was reading FSSI reports, right? Do you know that between 2011 and 2017, the number of adulteration cases has been increased by 100%. This is by FSSI. So question is, so there is something deeper, right? Something much bigger, right? And the problem is increasing actually, right? And it's a multi-headed hydra, right? In fact. So if you cut it on one side, there might be another head that will pop up, right? So we need to ensure that there is a holistic intent, because if the population is not healthy, right? So how this world will survive, okay? So I think this is an excellent mission that you have picked up. I will try to see that how much I can contribute myself, right?
No, the contribution, all I need is please spread this message. That's all is needed, because this is a zero investment kind of a spread that we are doing. It's all about while talking to our people, while talking to our friends, families, just to share so that they can also live longer along with all of us.
But
right?
Also a bit of education is needed.
No, absolutely, yes. We are trying there as much as possible. I'm trying to give
that. I mean, taking the example of mustard oil versus palm oil mix, right? How many of us are aware, right? This kind of education is needed.
I was not aware. Even when I was just, doing the analysis on ghee, a very similar thing. Do you know coal tar dye is getting added there?
So how can we really, at least for the primary, items that we consume every day, how can we make us aware that, okay, these are the few things that you should check?
Yeah, right? Exactly. That is what I am trying to do in this.
If you can do that, I think that will make it far more appealing.
Correct. Exactly. That is what we are trying to do there. Like, these are the common things you should, avoid, or they should test at least before consuming. Basic test may not be 100%. Correct. Maybe at least you can cut off 20% by doing that. That is the whole idea. But it's all about that community building. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, because you are having, ideas or learning from all the different aspects of life, like, that you have gathered that knowledge. So it's always very pleasant for me to have any discussion. I possibly, this can continue for hours and our viewers will be feeling really bored by having this. So we will again meet and we will again talk, because I felt your advice will be always very helpful. But thanks a lot for your time today. We'll be coming back again and have more discussions.
My pleasure and my honor.
Thank you. Thank you.